So basically I'm creating this tutorial just to show you how you can create a stripped volume from several disks. Basically a stripped volume in specific, it means that you are spreading your data on several disks. A reason why you would want to do that is to increase performance on those disks. For example, if you have 2 disks and each disk can operate at maybe 50 megabytes per second, if you have 2 disks and those 2 disks are joined together as one drive called a stripped volume, you will be able to double your input output to 100 megabytes per second. So let's get started. What we'll first do is open the control panel. We'll go into administrative tools, then computer management. Basically you'll find a tool where you can modify your disks. We'll go to disk management here, wait for it to load, and then you should see the disks. So basically here what I see is that I have the C drive existing on disk 0. We have disk 1 and disk 2. And there is a reason why I created them at 10 and 15. Basically, when you're creating a stripped volume, half your data goes to disk 1 and the other half will go to disk 2. And it goes in a round robin kind of way, where it writes a piece of data on disk 1, then goes to disk 2, then disk 1, then disk 2, etc. Since it actually has to replicate every action on disk 1 back to disk 2, those have to be the same size. Which means that if we try to create a stripped volume, and we can do so by right-clicking on it and saying new stripped volume, and then we'll see this wizard. Basically this wizard will help you create that stripped volume. If we have one disk, obviously a stripped volume has to have more than one disk, because that's the point of it. So when you click on next, you won't be able to. So we have to add a second disk, which is disk 2. Great. Here we went from disk 2 onto the other side and selected. You will notice that it tried to modify it to 10,237, even though back to its original size was 15,357. That was because they have to be the exact size. So technically speaking, you're going to lose 5 gigas, and we will see that later in this video. So then we click next, and it basically tells you now we can mount it as a certain drive letter. So we'll choose E. You can choose anyone you want, but let's go with E. Here you have the menu for formatting. I prefer the quick format because it's the quickest you get to start using your volume. If you want to erase some data on it, then you can go with the full formatting. And we'll click next, and you're good, you're done. And we'll click finish. Basically this message is telling you something that's very important. When you have a normal disk, that's called a basic disk. That's how it works. It's just one disk, and you can have many partitions on that disk, where you have C, D, etc. When you're trying to create either stripped, spanned, or RAID 5, these disks cannot operate as basic disks, and they have to be converted to dynamic disks, as shown in this message. It's just telling you that you have to convert them into dynamic disks, and if you do so, you won't be able to install any operating systems on that volume, except of course the current boot volume. So do you want to continue? I'll choose yes, and we're done. We'll go through some configurations there. We'll finish it up, we'll set it up, and we'll wait a little bit. And there you go. We got the notification that we have a new drive, which is E, which was the drive name letter I chose, and you'll see here back you have 5 gigas that's not being used because the stripped went from 10 here to 10 here, and you're left over with 5 gigas. Now with this 5 gigas you can create another partition, but it won't be part of the E. So let's, for example, create maybe a simple volume. A simple volume is same as a normal volume that you knew before. So it will be like, for example, the C. That's a simple volume. So let's create it, just in case, just to be able to use all of the disk. Otherwise you won't be able to use those 5 gigas. We're good. We chose F. We quick format again. and we'll finish. So now we have an E which is stripped and an F which is using up that, you know, extra 5 gigas that was left over. So when we minimize it, we'll go back to my computer, and we go to my computer and we find E. So since we did a stripped volume as opposed to a mirrored volume, which will be explained in another video, you have the combination of both storage. So since we had 2 disks, each one was stripped with 10 gigas, you have a total of about 20 gigas as seen on disk E. I hope this was useful. Please leave any comments you have or questions below.